This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have the chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1. Part 1. A woman is calling a travel agency to inquire about booking a holiday package for her family. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6.
Good morning, Green Valley Travel Agency. This is Sarah speaking. How can I help you?
Hi, Sarah. I'm interested in booking a family holiday package for next month, and I saw a few offers on your website. Could I get some more details?
Of course. May I have your name, please?
Sure, it's Emily Carter. That's Carter.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. And may I ask how many people are traveling?
It'll be 4 of us, my husband, our 2 children, and me.
Great. And are your children under the age of 12?
Yes, they are. One is 10 and the other is 7.
Perfect. They'll qualify for our child discount. So, when were you thinking of traveling?
Ideally, sometime during the school holidays, so around the 2nd week of August, maybe from the 10th to the 17th.
Let me check our availability. Yes, we have a few packages available for that week. Are you looking for a beach destination, mountains, or something else?
Something warm and relaxing, maybe a beach resort. Nothing too remote, though. We'd like to be near shops and restaurants.
I think our Coral Bay Family Resort in Spain might be just what you're looking for. It's in a small coastal town called San Marilo, spelled Sanmarillo. It's very family-friendly.
That sounds nice.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 7 to 10.
What's included in the package?
It's a 7-night stay in a family suite, includes breakfast and dinner, airport transfers, and access to the kids club, which runs daily from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. There's also a complimentary excursion to a local water park.
That's great. What about the flights?
Yes, return flights from London Gatwick to Malaga are included. The flight departs at 9:20 in the morning on the 10th and returns at 4:45 in the afternoon on the 17th.
That works for us. How much does the package cost?
Let me calculate that for you. For 2 adults, it's £599 each, and for children under 12, it's £399 each. So that's £1,996 in total.
Does that include travel insurance?
No, but we can add it for an additional £50 per person. Would you like me to include that?
Yes, better to be safe. So that brings the total to, let me see.
That would be £2,196 altogether.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and book it. What do you need from me?
I'll need your full address to begin with.
Sure, it's 18 Willowbank Road, Oxford, and the postcode is OX24EF.
Thank you. And your contact number?
It's 07963 2241115.
Got it. And how would you like to pay, credit or debit card?
Credit card, please.
Okay, you'll receive a secure payment link via email shortly. Speaking of which, can I have your email address?
Yes, it's emily.carter89@gmail.com.
That's great. Once payment is confirmed, I'll email you the full itinerary and booking details.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's everything. Thanks so much, Sarah.
You're very welcome, Ms. Carter. I'll be in touch shortly. Have a lovely day.
You too. Bye.
Goodbye.
That is the end of part 1. You have now 1 minute to check your answers. Part 2. You will hear a talk given by a member of staff at the Greenfield Public Library about new events and public feedback. First, look at questions 11 to 15.
Hello, and welcome to Greenfield Public Library's monthly update. I'm Laura Jenkins, your Community Outreach Coordinator, and I'd like to share some exciting developments, as well as summarize our recent survey on digital reading trends. We're thrilled to be launching a series of weekend workshops starting next month. These include creative writing, local history, and bookbinding. But what's already created the most buzz is our new storytelling corner for children. We trialed this in spring and received glowing reviews from parents and schools alike. To celebrate the library's 100th anniversary this summer, we plan to install a commemorative sculpture near the main entrance. Originally, we discussed a mural or planting a heritage tree, but the council chose a sculpture after considering durability and visibility. A local artist has been commissioned to create a bronze piece that will depict the evolution of reading through the ages. Now, fundraising, always a challenge, but we've done well. We hosted a quiz night, a silent auction, and a bake sale. The auction was a surprise success, raising more than double the bake sale and 3 times more than the quiz. We're so grateful to local businesses who donated items. For volunteers hosting visiting librarians from abroad in July, we recommend keeping the first evening simple. Avoid public outings or large meals. Just a relaxed chat over tea or a light dinner at home is ideal. This helps guests settle in after travel. As part of the cultural weekend, we'll host a shared reading event on Saturday evening. Guests from abroad will read from their favorite national authors, followed by short readings from British literature. There'll also be a discussion circle for attendees to reflect on the pieces. It promises to be insightful and very personal.
That is the end of questions 11 to 15. Now look at questions 16 to 20.
Listen and answer questions. 16 to 20. We also recently conducted a survey among regular visitors, students and adults about trends in digital reading habits and preferences. First, we asked about e-readers versus physical books. Most respondents said they liked the portability of e-readers, but missed the tactile experience of paper. Some had hoped digital reading would make them read more, but were disappointed. It didn't change their habits much. Next, subscription-based reading apps. Many said these are widely used, especially among young professionals who like having a library on their phones. It seems to be a trend that's already well established. We also looked at interest in audiobooks. While listeners enjoy them during commutes or chores, students in particular felt that publishers should do more to support this format. A number pointed out how few books are available in audio compared to print or e-book versions. On the topic of digital reading habits among different age groups, students felt older readers weren't adopting the technology as quickly. They saw it as something more relevant to younger people who are comfortable with gadgets. Lastly, concerns were raised over screen time and eye strain. Some respondents expressed worry that excessive digital reading, especially before bed, might have health risks. This was a reminder that even positive tech has downsides.
That is the end of Part 2. You have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 2. Part 3. You will hear two university students, Sophie and Daniel, discussing their group presentation for an environmental studies course. You now have some time to look at questions 21 to 25.
Hey Daniel, do you have a few minutes to talk about our presentation?
Sure, I've just finished my lab session. I was actually hoping we could go over the outline soon. Have you thought more about how we should structure it?
Yes, I had some ideas. Since the topic is pretty broad, I think we should break it into sections. Maybe start with an overview of urban development, then move into specific effects on different types of ecosystems like wetlands, forests, and maybe even urban wildlife.
That sounds logical. What if we also include a section about proposed solutions or ways to mitigate those impacts? Like green urban planning, rooftop gardens, or protected zones.
Oh, definitely. That would help end the presentation on a positive and practical note. So, 4 main sections: introduction, case studies on effects, solutions, and then conclusion.
Yeah. How about we divide the workload? I could handle the part about forests and maybe urban wildlife, and you could cover wetlands and green infrastructure solutions.
That works for me. I've already read a few articles about wetland degradation due to construction projects. There's a case in New South Wales where they're trying to restore a marsh area near a newly built highway. It could be a strong example.
Sounds perfect. For forests, I'll probably refer to the study on the Amazon basin near urban edges. Urban sprawl is increasing deforestation rates more than people realize.
Right. And for urban wildlife, maybe you could mention how animals are adapting to city environments, like foxes or raccoons becoming more common.
Yes, but I'll also mention how artificial lighting and traffic disrupt natural behaviors. That contrast would highlight both adaptation and harm.
Good point. We also need to be careful with timing. We've got a 12-minute limit and we're being graded on keeping within it. I suggest we aim for 5 minutes each, then leave 1 minute each for intro and wrap-up.
Fair enough. Maybe we can create a shared Google Doc and start adding bullet points? I always find it easier to develop the slides after we have the structure in place.
Agreed. Also, we shouldn't overload our slides. Maybe 1 image or chart per slide with just key points, no full sentences.
You will now hear the second part of the discussion. First, look at questions 26 to 30.
I'm glad you said that. There's nothing worse than reading off the screen. And Dr. Patel warned us in class that dense slides will lose marks under presentation clarity.
Oh, and one more thing. We'll need to decide who opens and who closes. Do you want to do the introduction or the conclusion?
I think I'd prefer to wrap it up. That way I can summarize and also answer any follow-up questions more naturally. You're better at starting strong anyway.
Works for me. I'll set the scene and give the audience a clear outline at the beginning. That always helps people follow along.
Did you see the feedback sheet from last year's group presentations? The highest marks went to teams that had engaging delivery and clear structure.
Yes, and it mentioned cohesion between speakers too. So maybe we should rehearse together more than once to make sure our transitions feel smooth.
Absolutely. Maybe we can add short linking phrases like, now Sophie will explain the case of wetlands, or Daniel will now talk about how wildlife adapts. That kind of thing?
Yes, that will make it feel more like a team effort. Also, did you consider using a short video clip? Maybe something showing a time-lapse of urban sprawl?
I did, but we have to be cautious. Including a video takes time, and we'd need to make sure it adds real value, not just visual flair.
Good point. Maybe just a still image then. Okay, timeline-wise, do you want to have our individual content ready by Friday? That way we can meet over the weekend to rehearse.
That's a good plan. And let's aim to do at least 2 full practice runs. We don't want to get surprised by timing issues during the real thing.
That is the end of the part 3. Now you have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3. Part 4. You will hear a seminar about the psychology of decision-making. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we'll be delving into a fascinating area of psychology that affects all of us, the psychology of decision-making. Whether we're choosing what to have for dinner, deciding on a career path, or even evaluating more serious matters like healthcare or finances, our ability to make decisions and how we go about making them is a complex process influenced by numerous psychological factors. To begin with, let's consider the concept of bounded rationality. This theory, introduced by Herbert Simon in the 1950s, challenges the traditional idea that humans are fully rational agents. Instead, Simon proposed that our cognitive limitations, such as limited memory, attention, and time, restrict our ability to make purely logical decisions. In other words, we often settle for a decision that is good enough rather than optimal. This is called satisficing, a blend of satisfy and suffice, and it helps us manage the overwhelming number of choices we face every day. Now, closely related to bounded rationality is the idea of heuristics. These are mental shortcuts or rules of thumb that we use to simplify decision-making. While heuristics can be incredibly helpful, they also introduce biases. For example, the availability heuristic leads us to assess the probability of an event based on how easily examples come to mind. So after hearing about a plane crash on the news, some people might think air travel is more dangerous than it actually is. Another common heuristic is the representativeness heuristic, where we judge something based on how similar it seems to a typical case. For instance, if someone is quiet and detail-oriented, we might assume they're more likely to be a librarian than a salesperson, even though statistically there are far more salespeople than librarians. Now let's turn to emotions and how they influence our decisions. Contrary to the view that emotions are irrational forces that should be excluded from logical thinking, Recent research shows that emotions often play a central role in guiding decisions. The neuroscientist Antonio Damasio demonstrated this through studies of patients with brain damage in areas responsible for processing emotions. These patients could logically evaluate the pros and cons of various choices, but struggled to actually make a decision. This suggests that emotion is essential for prioritizing and evaluating options. Next, we should consider the impact of social and environmental factors. Peer pressure, cultural norms, and even how options are presented can all sway our choices. A famous example is the framing effect, where people respond differently to the same information depending on how it's worded. If a medical treatment is said to have a 90% survival rate, people are more likely to choose it than if they're told it has a 10% mortality rate, even though the two statements are mathematically identical. There's also the concept of choice overload. It might seem a bit counterintuitive, but having too many options can actually hinder decision-making. A well-known study by psychologists Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper found that people were more likely to make a purchase when presented with 6 varieties of jam than when offered 24. This phenomenon suggests that an abundance of choice can lead to decision fatigue, anxiety, and, ultimately, inaction. Let's now touch briefly on delay discounting, which refers to the tendency to devalue rewards the further away they are in time. This is why so many people struggle with saving money or sticking to a diet. They prioritize immediate gratification over long-term benefits. Interestingly, people who are better at delaying gratification, often measured by the famous marshmallow test conducted on children, tend to have better life outcomes in education, health, and even income. Lastly, I want to mention the role of defaults in shaping behavior. Studies show that people are far more likely to stick with preset options than actively choose alternatives. For instance, countries with an opt-out system for organ donation, where people are automatically enrolled unless they choose otherwise, have much higher donation rates than opt-in countries. This really highlights how small changes in the structure of choices can lead to significant behavioral differences. So, in summary, decision-making is not just a logical process. It's shaped by cognitive limitations, mental shortcuts, emotional input, social influence, and even how choices are framed or presented. Understanding these factors can help us become more aware of our decision-making patterns, and ideally, make better decisions in both our personal and professional lives. In our next session, we'll explore strategies for improving decision-making and reducing bias, including the use of checklists, pre-commitment techniques, and structured reflection.
That is the end of the Part 4. You have now 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 4. You have now 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet.